These tomatoes look like a nasty, soggy mess, but that's what makes them perfect for freeze drying. Now, I've done this a lot of different ways, but this one is by far the easiest and most efficient. Today I'm freeze drying something that we use more than any single freeze dried item that we've ever freeze dried before, and that is tomato powder. And this is our last jar, so I gotta get some more done. The thing that makes tomato powder so good is its versatility. You can use it for pizza sauces, pasta sauces. What my wife does is she makes a cream sauce for pasta, and she'll put some tomato powder in it, and it is amazing. You can also use it as a seasoning. We put it on our popcorn. I know, it sounds weird, but we put it on our popcorn. It's great. We use it to season a whole lot of different things. You can turn it into a tomato paste if you add just a little bit of water, make it nice and pasty. You can also make it a tomato juice by adding a lot more water into it. We also make soups and stews, and the list goes on. What makes this method so efficient is a large portion of the water that was inside these tomatoes is now sitting at the bottom of this tub. Now I don't have to worry about getting this water out of the tomatoes before I freeze dry it, and it's gonna allow me to put much more tomato inside of my freeze dryer per run. When I pulled these 3 bags out of the freezer, this is what they look like. They were big bags full of just plump tomatoes that came straight out of our garden. We grew a lot of tomatoes last year, and we didn't have enough time to preserve all of them. So we canned a whole bunch of them, we freeze dried a whole bunch of them, and then we also just packed a bunch of these bags with these tomatoes because we knew we were gonna be doing this. So this is cold. Frozen tomatoes, when they thaw out, this is what happens. They lose a big percentage of the moisture that's inside of them, so it makes this whole thing really easy. Now, some people use this tomato water. You can use it for watering plants or making different sauces, different things like that. Right now, I'm just gonna set this aside and move on to these tomatoes because I need to get these in the freeze dryer. All right, I got these out of the water, and then I kind of drained off the bags a little bit. If you cut the corner of them, that water will come out. You can also just kind of open up the top and dump them. It's gonna get messy, it's totally okay. Now, it looks like we have some Romas, we have some purple Cherokees. Those are the only 2 I can really tell what they are in this mush, but either way, I'm just gonna blend them all up together. Which brings me to my next step. We need to blend these up. And for this, I recently got a new toy. So in the gardening world, I came from growing peppers. That's the first thing I ever grew. That's kind of what got me to fall in love with gardening. And in the pepper space, in the pepper community, there's a lot of people that are making hot sauces. And the best hot sauces were always made with the nicer blenders because they can blend everything up really good. And everybody was using a Vitamix, and that's what I have right here. And what a Vitamix does is it breaks up all the seeds. So in hot sauces, it was nice because it gave you a nice smooth sauce. But in freeze drying, it's nice because the seeds hold on to moisture. So if I can blend all those up in this, I don't have to worry about the seeds being in here. Yes, you might get a little bit of that bitter flavor, but I always put the seeds in and it's never been an issue. So realistically, what this is gonna do is give it a longer shelf life because we aren't gonna worry about the moisture getting trapped inside of those seeds. We've done this with a Ninja blender, we've done this with other blenders. It still does work. This is just gonna work a little bit better, and I'm really excited to just use my new toy today. Now, you might be surprised that today I'm not gonna be pre-freezing anything. Our freeze dryer is actually empty right now, so I don't need to pre-freeze anything. I'm just gonna throw it straight into the freeze dryer. One thing I am gonna do is, I don't know if you saw the video, but Harvest Right just launched a Wi-Fi adapter for their freeze dryer, so I can just start my freeze dryer right now. So that's what I'm gonna do. The initial freeze is gonna be negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit. I am adding 2 hours of extra freeze time because I'm putting these in not frozen, and I really want to give it time to freeze fully. Drying time is just going to be 120 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty much the standard for what your freeze dryer always wants to go with. And then as far as extra dry time, I always set it to 24 hours, but now that I have this, I can just add it if I need it. So those are the settings I'm going to be using today. Let's go ahead and get it started. And I just heard it click on in the other room. So that's going to get freezing while we're blending these up, and then we'll put them straight in. Let's open this and see if we can dump this in without making too big of a mess. You know when you have like a brand new toy or tool and it gets messy and you get bummed out about it? That's how I'm feeling right now. Oh well, there we go. So I've only used this one time so far, and it was for smoothies, so I need to make sure I know how to use it here, maybe. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this up a little bit. Dang. And really try to grind up these seeds. All right, let's go ahead and stop it. It did what I hoped it would. Just smooth tomato. Nice. Let me show you as I pour this in here, just kind of how smooth this is looking. There's no, this is really nice. I'm really happy with this. I'm gonna go ahead and get all these tomatoes blended up and get them onto the trays, and then I'll meet you in the room to put it in the freeze dryer. All right, sorry for the glare and all the shadows. I've got the sun coming in here and it's pretty impossible, but we're working on a studio area for this type of stuff, so just you don't have to deal with it for very long. And I can't be the only one. Every time that I'm throwing stuff in the freeze dryer, I've got them stacked up here, over here. I pretty much just have trays balancing all over the place. I hope I'm not the only one. We're gonna go ahead and get them into the freeze dryer. It's been going for 20 minutes, so we're able to load them now. And luckily, since these aren't super liquidy, they're not trying to spill out. I don't have to worry too much about that. A lot of times if I'm freeze drying liquids, so this is just kind of like a, let's see if you can see it. This is kind of like a tomato paste. It's not going anywhere. It's staying on the tray. If I'm doing actual liquids, I will put them in the tray like this, and I will pour the liquid in and then just kind of carefully push it into the freeze dryer. And that helps a lot with liquids. But since this is more of a tomato paste, we don't really need to worry about it. And let's jump in there where it's a little bit more quiet. Tomato puree is in the freeze dryer, and I'm guessing this is gonna be a longer run. Even though we had a lot of the moisture removed before we even put them in the freeze dryer with the freezing and thawing, there's still quite a bit of moisture in there, and there's just kind of a lot of food there that the freeze dryer has to remove the moisture from. We'll see how long it goes, but it's most likely gonna be a long one. Now, real quick, while we're waiting, if you're looking into getting a freeze dryer, there's a link in the description below. It is an affiliate link, so I get a commission if you do buy from that link, but it doesn't cost you anything else, but it really does support what we're doing here. Pretty much all the money we make from that goes to everything we do here. Along with that, we also have an affiliate link for the Vitamix blender. That was our first time really testing it and using it like that, and it performed exactly as I hoped it would. It was perfect, and we're gonna be using this a lot for our different fruits that we're gonna be blending up for fruit powder. So let's say strawberries, it's gonna work perfect for that. Tomatoes, obviously, different things like that that have the seeds. I'm really excited to try lemon powder with it. We've done lemon powder in the past, but we just kind of left the seeds in there. But this time I'm gonna blend it up in the blender, see if we can get those seeds broken up, and I'm really excited about that. But enough of me blabbing, I'm gonna come back when that's done. Okay, our tomatoes are done. The run went for about 42 hours, which is a pretty long run, but a good chunk of that was to get the tomatoes frozen because I didn't pre-freeze them. Now, normally when I do tomatoes like this, I do more than just the 4 hours of extra dry time that we're sitting at right now, because you've got those seeds in there, and those seeds really do hold on to quite a bit of moisture. But the way that we did it this time with that new blender, we don't have any seeds in there, so I mean 4 hours of extra dry time, to me that's plenty. But just to be safe here, I am gonna hit it with my moisture meter. Let's go ahead and get this batch ended and get the air back into the machine. All right, let's get this opened up, and I'm gonna check some of these trays real quick here. All right, yeah, I'm not seeing any moisture at all. Usually if nothing pops up on the screen at all, it's usually a good sign, because even if I just hit it with my hands, it reads the moisture off my hands, so it's pretty sensitive. So yeah, if I come up here, it just goes straight to nothing. So I'm not too worried about those holding on to any extra moisture, so let's go ahead and get them out and let's get them packaged up. And then once I get these packaged up, I'll also show you just kind of real quick how we use it. I'm not gonna do a recipe or anything like that, but I will show you kind of how we mix it up to do different things with it. Okay, let me get these into the kitchen and I'll be right back. Okay, our tomato is done. We're gonna get ready to package it up. There's a couple ways you can do this. You can go with a Mylar bag, which is gonna give you a lot longer shelf life, up to 25 years. For this, we use it so often that we're not gonna use Mylar, we're just gonna use glass jars. So I have some glass jars that I have pre-sanitized, and hopefully 4 is enough, we're about to find out. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grind this back into a powder with the blender. If you don't have a blender, what I've done in the past is I'll take this and kind of break it into chunks, put it into like a gallon Ziploc bag, and then I just like beat it with a wooden spoon, and that powderizes it as well. And there's nothing really special to it. I'm just gonna break this into smaller chunks and get it in there. You gotta pull off this is why I use my mats, especially silicone for liquidy stuff like this, because none of the tomato got underneath the silicone mat, and it just came right off of it just as one big chunk. So that definitely helps out a lot. So I'm just gonna go ahead and break this up, toss it in here. And I know I said that this is the most efficient way to do it, which is true, at least that I've found, but this isn't my favorite way to do it. My favorite way to do this is actually to take your garden fresh tomatoes, blend them all up in a blender, put them into a pot, and just let them simmer all day long. And they just keep adding tomatoes as that moisture level goes down. And what this does is it gives it a much deeper and better flavor to use as things for like seasoning. So for this, I'm gonna be using it as sauce bases, you know, spaghetti sauce, pizza sauce, you know, different things like that. And later this summer, when we get some fresh tomatoes, I will make a whole nother video about how to do that. But this is what we do with our frozen tomatoes, and this works out perfectly. I'm just gonna turn it on, just a real light blending, and I'm probably gonna have to get in there with my little stick, which is right here. And as you go through this, you're gonna find out real quickly that you can just kind of add more and more as you go. So now, this is a quarter of the way full, so I can just start topping it back off. And then as soon as we get all this done and most of this packaged up, I'll keep a little bit out and just kind of show you how it mixes together with water and how to use it as a tomato sauce, tomato paste, tomato juice, different things like that. I'm still trying to learn how to use this blender. This almost is like a coffee grinder type of powder, which I don't know if it's gonna be a good thing or a bad thing. I guess I'm gonna find out when I go to mix it with some water. We'll see how it does. But yeah, just a really, really fine, dusty powder. I'll bring you in close here in just a second to show you. So for this, I'm gonna use my funnel. It just makes this a little bit easier, getting everything where it needs to go. Oh, there's a piece there that I missed. Oh wow, that smells great. As soon as I pulled this lid off of it, all of that smell just came rushing up. I might honestly be able to fit this in like one jar, and I have 4 out here. But let's go ahead and dump this in. As I dump it in, you're gonna have a close shot of kind of what this powder looks like, and then I'll show you it in the jar once I get done with that. Yeah, I think this is 1 jar. So as I just poured that, it kind of poofed up, and I can taste it as I'm talking. I worked hard growing this. I need to make sure I get every little speck. That's the official way to get this out. One really important thing with these jars, when you're putting your freeze-dried food into jars, you wanna make sure that the top little end or top of the jar here is cleaned off. You want all the dust, any little particles on there, you want it off, because when you put your lid on it, you want your lid to actually seal. And if there's little particles on there, it's gonna allow air to just slowly seep in, and that's the last thing you want. Before I get too far into that, I do wanna take, ow. Just smashed my thumb. I do want to take a little spoonful and put it into this jar so I can kind of show, whoa, that is soft. I want to show you how I use this. So I'm going to take just a little spoonful here. We'll go ahead and rehydrate this here in just a second. I've got my little jelly jar with my oxygen absorbers in there. So I'll open it, throw one in, and immediately close it back up. Got my lid, and then I also have my little jar sealer here, and I'm gonna be completely honest, I loved this thing when I first bought it, and maybe I'm just being too harsh on it because this is probably 2 or 3 years old at this point, but when I first bought this, it worked really well. And then now, when I use it, I have to, oh wow, it's gonna work first time, isn't it? It's totally working now. Lately, when people ask me where I got my jar vacuum sealer, I don't recommend this one anymore. I used to because I used to love it, but now it's really finicky. What I do tell people is just to get on Amazon, because there are so many different versions of this now. So if you get on Amazon and just type in jar vacuum sealer and just find the one with the best reviews. Really, when I replace this, that's what I'm gonna be doing. So don't buy the exact one that I have. This is the consistency we've got here. Really powdery, really fine. I could have fit even more than I did in there. Here's another shot of what this looks like up close, just real powdery, real fine. And I'm really excited to see how this rehydrates, because normally my powder isn't nearly this fine. If I wanted this to be a tomato paste, I would just add a little bit of water in. Let's see what that does for us. With stuff like this, I normally don't measure it out. I just eyeball it. So this wasn't enough water. Soaked it right up. You can always add more, you can't take away, unless you add more powder, I guess. So now you're starting to see a tomato paste, real thick tomato paste. So instead of going to the store and buying tomato paste, you've got your own, just with your tomato powder. If you wanted a tomato sauce for, let's say, spaghetti or pizza sauce, something like that, some kind of marinara sauce, maybe a dipping sauce, add some more water. You see we've got tomato sauce. You can make it as thick or as thin as you'd like. You can also make a tomato soup out of this, which would be really good. I mean, as you're going, you'd want to be adding your seasonings. You can also season it before you ever do this, but I prefer to keep it pretty just plain and then add my seasonings depending on what I'm making. So there's a thinner tomato sauce. Let's go ahead and make a tomato juice. tomato soup. I don't know if you could call it an actual tomato juice because you are gonna have some pulp in there. I would definitely use this for a good Bloody Mary, that's for sure. And that's it. That is our easy and simple freeze-dried tomato powder. If you do wanna see the other version that we do in the summer months during the gardening season, come back this summer, we'll be sure to get a video on it.